Hey everyone, welcome to Startups on Demand, sponsored by New York Tech Media. I'm your host, Omri Hurwitz. So this is actually the first, I wouldn't call it a podcast. I would call it more like an interview show for New York Tech. Obviously, if you don't know, I write for them. So it's a really cool partnership. And today I've got my man, Yoel Israel on the show. I love Yoel, so that's just like
I
a
love you too, Omri. Thanks for having me.
you gotta disclose. You gotta disclose. Your love. So Yoel Israel is a B2B marketing legend. Okay, he's the founder and CEO of White Digital. He's, in my opinion, and not only my opinion, but a lot of other B2B marketers, PR agents, whatever. He is probably the most. He's the leading B2B marketer out there, in my opinion.
That's a fact.
Exactly.
I think enough people say it, and they don't say it about anyone else. That people say I'm the Gary V of B2B. That's what I've heard people say.
Yes, that's the branding. You see, he's such a good B2B marketer that he's implementing his tactics right on this show. So the idea of this show is to be really no fluff. Okay, we really want to talk about the actual tech. We really talk about marketing. We want to get to actually things that will help the readers, the listeners, and hopefully the readers read the articles as well. So today we're going to talk about Cyfluencer. Okay, Cyfluencer is the first cybersecurity influencer marketing platform, and you guessed it, Yoel Israel founded it, and he's leading this startup. Yoel, can you please tell us more about Cyfluencer, and let's get this.
Yeah, sure. It's not just only the first; it's also the only.
Yep.
And it's probably the only B2B influencer marketing platform that exists, not just for cybersecurity, but because it's a real platform that has a real legit marketplace. We had to focus on a certain niche. The reason why we focused on a certain niche is cybersecurity is because the plurality of our clients are cybersecurity. So we were able to get them on and be able to use their budgets much better. Anyway, Omri, thanks first off on having me on your show. It's an honor to be your first guest, and congratulations. I love what you're doing. It's great, and I know you're going to provide amazing value for New York Tech's listeners and readers and all of that, and they're really blessed to have you as a partner, and I'm totally honored to be on your guys, your first guest. So Cyfluencer, basic in short, it came about that within 6 months, 3 clients, cybersecurity clients, for don't know, we're an agency that do ads and SEO and influencer marketing and PR. And what we're able to do is we've helped three clients reach out to us about influencer marketing within 6 months. And each time I looked into it a little bit deeper, only to discover that there's nothing out there for influencer marketing cybersecurity, let alone tech, B2B tech, or any kind of even traditional non-tech B2B companies. And there's a serious problem for it, because usually, especially B2B products, technologies, it's not tangible. And the influencers aren't on Instagram and TikTok, and there isn't mass market. The target audience is very, very niche. We're talking about 0.01% of the population are even familiar with the products and the technological terms that we're talking about. So therefore, it's very niche and much more difficult, and there isn't that scale there that there is with B2C, where you can quickly distribute and get hundreds of thousands of relevant eyeballs from your influencer recommending your product. So it's very different. So we built it out first with a proof of concept. I actually saw, I had a friend who started influencer marketing platform for Pinterest related stuff. It has since went defunct, and I saw the genius and simplicity of it. And I approached him about building something together for LinkedIn, and he had investors and they weren't interested. I was also willing to put in significant money to invest. Anyway, they weren't, and they were keeping their focus. So he became a mentor of mine as I built out my own platform, trying to get his same ideas. I even reached out to he even connected me with his developers in the Ukraine, because I really liked the genius of the UI. The UI was, and the UI and the UX were amazing, especially the UI. I mean, the interface is just so
simple and really easy.
Simple. That's why it's so dumb. It's stupid dumb.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did actually before we reached out to a team, we had 3 clients that on a proof of concept. And then I was going to use a spreadsheet, and then I ended up using an affiliate network because they're able to track all the clicks and everything. So we were using affiliate network for 3 months. We extended it by another 3 months, and then we decided to build our own platform. And we continued with the affiliate network for a year or so until our platform was completed. We spent almost 80 grand on the platform, $8,000, to really make it good and easy, to make sure it's properly secure, which is extremely important, obviously, for cybersecurity, both the publishers and the cybersecurity influencers, which are predominantly CISOs in North America, for them to go ahead and share the content. And the geniusness of it is that the problem that we solve is that influencer marketing is broken.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example for B2B. For B2C, I think it's actually fantastic. The issue is there are 2 main issues as I saw influencer marketing currently. The first is, so because it's a much more narrow audience, and when you bring in an influencer, they have expertise. You don't tie them in for like 1 week or like do 6 posts kind of thing. They usually lock them in for 3, 6, 12 months as an influencer. And so you have 2 issues. One is that the great news is that they're hitting up an audience that's very interested in your product, and it's great that you're partnering with them. However, when they keep writing blogs or hosting webinars or going to trade shows, let's say sharing also on social, they're hitting up their same followers again and again and again. And this runs into 2 issues. The first is that they look like they're in-house because they keep just sharing the same shit from the same company, no longer like an independent influencer, even though they still are, right? But spending significant hours on the side for a company they're influencing. And the other thing is the laws of diminishing the returns. They don't come off as influencer, and they're hitting up the same audience again and again. So we solved those 2 by, one is that you're able to share your content on the platform, or we have people that do it for you. And we're very selective. And then we have influencers, which we're extremely selective about, in cybersecurity, and they have different niches. So they can only see certain content if it's within their greater niche, can then go ahead and share their content. It comes off organically, it comes off legit, they recommend it, they have to write 50 characters on their own. And the good news is they're not dedicated to any company on the platform. They can literally share from one company and then share from the competitor tomorrow. And that's the genius of it, is that it's actually the way you use influencer marketing to distribute your content, not necessarily to advocate for the company for a whole and all of that, but for your content. So now you can have multiple, you can have people sharing from all kinds of different content companies, cybersecurity companies, not to mention their own content, which makes it look like they're not paid in-house, but are actually true influencers truly recommending your product or your blog, which goes really far. And then on the other end, you'll have many other influencers sharing it, so that have different relevant and overlapping followers, which prevents you from having the diminishing returns of the same person seeing the same followers, so it loses its impact. If you have 2 people share it and they have the same follower and they saw 2 different people, a few days apart, share your content, then they're much more likely to click, engage, read, and follow through with your cybersecurity company. And so we've managed to solve all that, and it's been taken off ever since, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. So a few questions. Okay, so first of all, I'll ask you, where are you guys at right now? Like, how many clients? Like, how is it looking right now? How big is the influencer database?
We have over like 60 influencers and about an active like 25, over 20 companies, cybersecurity companies, and you build active influencers.
You build them monthly. You build them on a monthly basis, right? Cost per click is the model you guys are using.
Yeah. So at the end of the month, we pay out our influencers. We invoice the companies at the end of the month, and then there's the margin is we pay our team and to improve the platform. We're far from ROI positive, but we are cash flow positive. Yeah, it's very straightforward. It's cost per click. The reason is because LinkedIn's API doesn't allow you to collect impression data from profiles, only from LinkedIn business pages. So therefore, the only way we're able to track it is through clicks.
Cool. And so a few months ago, I wrote an article on Forbes called Cyfluencer, which basically featured you guys as well. And I was wondering, man, you went really niche with having it, as a strictly cybersecurity influencer platform, what about making it an all-inclusive techfluencer kind of platform where is that too broad? Is that like too broad in your opinion?
Yeah, it will destroy the platform because the problem is that it's a marketplace, right? We need to cherry pick the right cybersecurity companies that have good content that top influencers want to share. And then we need to cherry pick and work out perfect influencers that are willing to share it. And then you need to basically bring both sides to the party, and they both want to party with each other. And so it's very delicate. So I would like to expand to AI, but then that means I need to find a bunch of AI companies to come on, take a chance. While the influencers are new at the AI, they need to learn it, and there's a huge learning curve. And then I think kind of from that, and then maybe big data or data processing, and then if we're successful there, then we would expand and open it up to all the B2B tech influencer marketing. We are very selective on what influencers can sign on to the platform.
And we are not going. And what content you guys distribute?
Oh, of course. Yeah. We really, well, a few months ago, we went through a purge where we purged our influencers that didn't have the top engagement, ones that we feel that we wouldn't be proud to stand behind. Not that we're not, but like we wanted, we really want to get ones.
We want to make the platform better. Yeah.
And then the influencers only wanted to share very, 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 very good content. So we became more picky about the content. So we took down some of our publishers and clients' content that didn't kick ass, that weren't like top tier. And we've rejected new companies, cyber companies been wanting to join because we think their content is not what our influencers are looking for. We want to, first and foremost, we're here for our influencers, not the companies. Especially cybersecurity influencers, they're extremely peculiar people. And I mean that in the most positive way. They're natural skeptics, as they need to be. They need to be skeptical of everything they see, make sure it's not a security breach, and always, assume the worst. They don't even do trust and verify. They don't trust anything because they're the ones keeping our lights on, keeping this call secure when you're reading is secure, keeping your text secure, keeping everything secure, the things that you can't even imagine. And by doing that, they need to be very skeptical. And so they're also skeptical about the content and also how they share it. And they want to make sure that they're coming off in an honest, genuine way, only want to share content that they really believe in and want to stand behind. And so when they share it, they add an intro to, let's say, the blog, let's say, that is very glowing and very positive. And then our publisher companies love that, and it actually incentivizes them to continue to make good content.
So what kind of content is the content that performs, performs the best on the influencer platform? And I'm asking on a CPC level. I'm not asking on, what kind of platform gets shared as much, but what actually performs better? What type of content?
Well, in general, if you define performance by how many people, let's say, engage and click, generally speaking, and I would say it's a numbers game, is content that's technical but a little more mass market cybersecurity.
Like our ROI guides and those kind of stuff.
No. We don't share anything gated or anything salesy or anything company specific. If you have a blog that's highlighting you and your product too much and it's not value driven, that's to the full industry, we're not going to let you on the platform. We're not going to let that piece of content. Just to be clear, every company is going to have content that's them focused. If you're too you focused, we're not going to share. Our influencers won't want to pick it up. It's going to crowd the it's going to crowd the platform with not the best content, and therefore make them less likely to find content that they would like to share, and therefore we don't take it. But there's very good cybersecurity content that is very value driven, that might have more, that isn't, let's say, just a niche specific, like OT security or malware, ransomware, etc. One that kind of covers more thing, or maybe like a trend report or something like that, that's fascinating, that everyone in cybersecurity needs to be aware of and know of. And if you want to be a thought leader, industry leader, that you should be writing these pieces for not just your niche, but beyond. And if it's good stuff, that seems to get more pickups because more influencers will have access to that content, because it's not hyper niche. And also, therefore, their followers are more likely to engage and share with it because it's also not hyper niche. It's more applicable. They're more likely to tag someone else they know because they know more people that are outside of their niche. So it does end up getting a lot more reach. Those tend to do better.
By the way, do you guys also calculate like social shares? Like if one of your influencers shared a certain piece and then someone else shared it, or do you guys have access for that?
The
Okay.
APA, no. So sometimes we do ask for reporting if like we see something went viral, which
Yeah.
happens often. We'll ask them like a few days later, can you just send us a screenshot of your data just so we can send it to the client, just a bunch
Got
of,
it.
we have no
Yeah.
obligation, but we'll just say, look, this guy, 40,000 views on LinkedIn and a bunch of clicks in engagement, and just kind of let them know just as a customer service and because they don't get to see the impressions and they see what
Yeah.
companies did, viewed and all of that. And so when we get something that gets viral, we often ask the influencers to send us a screenshot to send.
And by the way, the audience needs to know this, that LinkedIn's API is super tough. So for instance, even if you use like certain brand monitoring tools like Brand Mention, or there's a few other nice tools that actually track your, mentions that your company or your brand got on social, it's really easy to find data for Twitter, for Facebook. So difficult to find any kind of data for LinkedIn. The API really lets you only like company pages, and even that I don't think works properly. So I get like how difficult it can be to actually track impressions and social sharing. So I'll move in and ask you. So we're gonna wrap up talking about Cyfluencer right now, and I'm just gonna ask you two further questions about you as an entrepreneur. So one, like what is your go-to advice for an entrepreneur, like if you had to choose only one? And the second thing is, what is your favorite productivity method? Is it badging time? Because I remember you're a big, you talk a lot about badging and like doing, meetings together and actual work together. Tell me what's your take on both of those questions.
Well, my number one advice would be to work if you're an entrepreneur. Look, it depends. If you're struggling to be an entrepreneur or are you inspired to be an entrepreneur is different than someone who's a current entrepreneur. My advice for an inspiring entrepreneur is to work very closely and next to another entrepreneur. It can even be in a different space, but then you're able to learn how they do things, how they do sales, how they do marketing, how they do follow up on accounts receivables that aren't paid, and you just see how things are done, how they speak on the phone, how they process things. You go do that for 2 years. It's the best education you'll ever get. In general, this goes for anyone, even if you're not an entrepreneur. If you don't have that entrepreneurial vibe or interest. And then if you are already an entrepreneur, I mean, my thing is I would get a business coach and make sure, there's very typically like cut out all of the people in your life that are not positive. If someone isn't positively adding to your business, isn't thinking like you or for it or that, if you still have friends that are kind of haven't, let's say, advanced in their need to grow. I don't just mean entrepreneurial or professionally, but I mean in their personal lives and all that. And they feel like, hey, they're the same place they were a few years ago. Nothing's going to hold you back more than people that are holding themselves back from advancing and taking on new challenges in their life, whether they're personal or professional. So it would be to cut them out. That's actually a universal advice, not just for entrepreneurs. But especially for entrepreneurs, because you really need to be fed information from other people that have a growth mindset. And again, it doesn't have to be business, it could be your personal life. In regards to what I've told you before, I mentioned about time blocking or chunking, is that your time is your most valuable asset by far. And obviously, I think people waste their time tremendously, and it's a tragedy. What I recommend people do is find ways so their brain doesn't have to switch gears so much as so put your sales calls, block them together back to back to back to back, then a break, then do your customer service or client calls, or then if you have some business calls, or if you need to do a lot of brainstorming or anything. By the way, writers, people that write books are the best at this. They understand this.
Yep.
They know every day they need to find 2 to 3 hours to write. It doesn't matter what. They need no interruptions. They don't have a phone. They don't have nothing. They usually enter an empty room, and there's nothing, and you just write away and just type whatever, just, knock it out as much as you can for a couple hours. Yeah. That's the same thing with anything that you need to do. Make sure you have no notifications on your phone. I don't have any. Don't have any desktop notifications, such as Squander. And then make sure that actually make sure that your time is utilized as best as possible. And the most important way is to ensure that you're not being interrupted and that you have full focus to do what you're doing.
Love it. Love this so much. I try to practice it as well. And I think everyone can definitely, kind of use time batching for their advantage and, kind of customize it to their own needs. So definitely. So guys, if you want to check more about Cyfluencer, there's a lot of content on their website, cyfluencer.com. You can Google them. There's a lot of really good press about them. And basically, like, if you guys want to, get some direct access, I'm sure they can reach you or yell it. Can you tell them like how they can do that? Like, what's the most convenient way?
I mean, you could just reach out to me and I'll connect you. You can find me on LinkedIn, Yoel Israel. You can email Yoel, Y-O-E-L, at wadidigital.com, and I'll connect you to the Cyfluencer team. Or you go to cyfluencer.com and just fill out a form, and that's that. And someone from our side, one of the people from our Cyfluencer team will make sure to take care of it.
Cool, awesome. So Yoel, thanks a lot, man, for being on the show. And
it's a pleasure. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
They're honored to have you. I don't think they know how great this is going to be for them.
Oh man, I'm gonna take that part and show it for them.
Absolutely, I'll tell them to their face.
Awesome, my man. Awesome. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon, like we always do.
Looking forward. Thank you, Omi, for having, and congratulations.
Bye, man. Talk soon.